Okay, I think that's a sign that I need to start. Okay, so welcome everyone back to my studio, which is actually the corner of my bedroom. Don't judge me, but this is the kind of world that we live in right now, where we have to make do in the places that we have. So welcome back everyone to the second half of the Pacific Islander Violence Prevention Conference. If you're just joining us, my name is Princess Bilo. No, I'm kidding. My name is Melissa Netane Jones from the Peninsula Conflict Resolution Center, and we are a proud co-sponsor of the conference. And we are going to start with the portion that's specifically for our service providers, whether you're Pacific Islander, an ally organization or institution that is currently serving Pacific Islanders. We want to make sure that we give you as much information as we can in regards to our communities to be able to collaborate with us, serve alongside us, and to also be able to provide the best service that you can with the information that you have. And that is one of the main reasons why we started the conference, was to be able to give service providers further insight and a deeper understanding of the community, so that when they're creating their programs and services, that they are able to do it with us in mind. And so we just came back from break, but prior to the break, we had a wonderful sort of grounding presentation about culture from Jake Fitisemanu. And then we went into cultural humility. That is really the approach that we hope and expect from our service providers to be able to apply when working with our communities. And now we're going a little bit deeper into the communities of the Pacific. And so many of you know, and or may not know, that the Pacific is separated into 3 regions. I don't like saying separated because we're actually very much connected, but in terms of the geographic landscape, we are in 3 different regions, which is Melanesia, Micronesia, and Polynesia. And basically we are ocean. And so we are going to start with the region of Melanesia. And what we're going to do is we're going to have 30-minute increments from each of these regions, and they're going to give you sort of in-depth or maybe some broad strokes about the community that we hope will inform your work. What's great is that during this conference, after this conference, we hope that you make connections with these individuals who can further help inform you should you need to do so. So I'm so excited to introduce the ladies of our first breakout, but we're not really breaking out, we're kind of breaking in together, of Melanesia. So I'm gonna have them unmute themselves, and I think that they prepared the presentation for you. And please, presenters, if you can quickly introduce yourself, what area of the region you come from, and the work that you do, and then proceed with your presentation. So I'm gonna turn it over to you ladies. Thank you so much.
Oh, okay. So I'm Finau Conklin. I am from the islands of Fiji. I am currently living in Utah. Let's see. I currently work as a Early Head Start Program Director, serving Utah County, and also the founder and executive director for Destination Services, which is a 501c3 nonprofit agency that was just awarded a federal grant. And that's me, Finau Conklin. I'll turn the time over to my Tauvu Bale.
Finau. My name is Bale Tuisavira. I also live here in Utah. I appreciate, Mrs. Jones, your introduction of our different regions in the Pacific. I love that you say that geographically we are divided, but we are one. And that's a very important factor to factor in when you're talking about or dealing with us, because in many assets of our lives, we come together. Our culture and the way we live our lives is one. I live here in Utah, like I say. I lived in Hawaii for 50-something years before I left Fiji when I was 6 years old. I'm not working at the time. I'm a licensed nurse, and I have done work with Susie as a facilitator on her domestic violence sessions here in Provo. So that's where I'm at. So I guess we're to talk about, I don't really know what we were given an assignment on, but I'm going to speak on, Finau, maybe I'll speak on domestic violence and how we see it in the islands. Recently, I had the opportunity to speak with one of the members of parliament. I think she's a minister for women's affairs, and shared some information with me. Because this is my passion, domestic violence, and it's a very prevalent problem in Fiji. It's always has been a prevalent problem. I did a research paper when I was doing my bachelor's in psychology. I went home to do it. And the problem there has not changed. According to her, it has increased because first and foremost, what we need to understand is that domestic violence is an accepted norm in the islands. It's something that it's almost like culture. It happens, we stay quiet about it because that's the way it has always been. And so with speaking with my colleague and speaking to others in Fiji, it has increased, and I can imagine it has increased with COVID into the picture. Still, government has not taken a concerted effort into seeing that this problem can be taken care of. Our women, they're still suffering. Our men, because they hold the patriarch or the headship title in the family. I think that has a lot to do with the fact that they don't see what they do is wrong. They see it as something that they're entitled to. I also, with speaking with my colleague in Fiji, she said, because of the increase of illegal drugs into the country, this has given also a high rise in the type of violence that happens back home. Maybe you can, and also this was a major part when I was there. I saw this, that in Fiji, they don't have halfway homes or shelters to keep victims of domestic violence, and they don't have programs set up. Resources, they're short on resources, and so that's what I have to bring to this panel, if that is something that they want to speak on. There's some questions, maybe Finau.
Okay, I can add a little bit to what Bale is saying. Fiji it's a diverse country. It has indigenous Fijians. We call ourselves now Itauke, and we also have Indians, Indo-Fijians, but we also have other population. So majority of the folks live in the urban area, which is Suva, and I do apologize for the sound that you're hearing. There's renovation happening while I am on this call, so bear with me. Trauma, I believe I had asked Susie what were some of the things that we needed to talk about, and one of the and two suggestions of how we could possibly give to the community workers, or maybe two suggestions. But trauma, Fiji has dealt with 4 coups. 3 military coups and 1 civilian coup, and so that has an impact in our economy, in different sectors, our health, our education, because when those things occur, resources from overseas tend to stop, whether it's Australian aid, New Zealand aid, US, things just kind of get frozen up, or they don't want to deal with that. And so now we're in a situation where it's slowly coming back, but strengths for our community, our Fijian community, we love our rugby. That's one place. If you're a healthcare worker in Utah or in the US, if you want to get a hold of Fijians, you will find them at a rugby match. We also love our kava, or yangona as we call it in Fijian, because yangona is an important commodity in our culture, but also our social interactions with each other. In our culture, yangona is what we use to, we buy yangona and we pay our respect to people. When we go and visit them, we bring our sevu, and that's yangona. But we also use that if there's conflicts between families, if there's conflict between people in this community and that community and their Fijians, yangona is used to ask for forgiveness, but also in a setting where we sit as families and we drink kava. It's different from how the Tongans view yangona or whai kava. It's totally different. We Fijians, kava is something that brings us together as a family, to sit together, to counsel with each other, or even just at this. I think right now a lot of people use it for social interactions during this time. And you add COVID to that, people are stuck in their little areas. So cover is important for us. And number 3, food. If there's food, we'll be there. If there's a function and there's food, you can count on us to be there. But in our communities in Utah, I believe Bale can add to this, where there's a Facebook page for the Fijian community. So if there's something that is coming up or something that is needed, Bale would probably be one of the best folks that you can go to, and she can probably connect with other Fijians in our Fijian community. Is there anything else, Bale, that you'd like to share with or add to that?
Just this, Finau, sometimes, and this is for healthcare workers, we Fijians, if you come across us, we're very reserved in many of the things that we do. And so when you're trying to find information about how well that they're doing, I think I came across this with some programs in Utah when they were trying to find Fijians to see how they were doing with the COVID and if they needed help. One thing about our people is that, and I think maybe this is characteristics of Polynesians and Pacific Islanders, is that even though we may be struggling or suffering, we're going to respectfully say, no, we're okay, we're fine. And so you need to look deeply into that, maybe make an appointment to do a home visit or something, if that's the kind of program you have you work for, because we might be suffering, but we will say, no, we're fine, we're doing fine. We're very, what's the word that I want to use? Reserved in that way, but we're very friendly and very, we love to help, and so we're going to help you if you need help. But when you come to those kind of things, I found that about my people, that they'll step back and say, no, it's okay, for the sake of not wanting to be a burden, but not realizing that, hey, this is here for you. We need to use this. We have the resources, so you can use this. So that's just one of the things I wanted to bring across to our healthcare workers, if they're trying to find Fijians and help them in that type of setting. Yeah.
Can I, Finau and Bale, is it okay if we're going to open it up to Q&A from any service providers or folks who might have some questions regarding the Fijian community? And one question that I have for you both is, you mentioned, some of the ways or some of the places where they congregate, rugby, family functions and things like that. I'm wondering, who can we contact if we want to reach out to the Fijian community? Is there designated leaders? Is there a system that we should follow in terms of engaging the Fijian community?
It's both informal and formal leaders. There is a Fijian association. I believe Bale is part of that Fijian association. So that's one way of getting a hold of someone in the leadership position in the Fijian community. But there's also informal ones, like the ones that, would get or have people's or is in connection with a lot of Fijians. Victor is one of them. I would typically hear things from Victor Narsimolu, and I'll have to ask him for his permission first before I give his information out. But I think Bale would be the best one that we currently have right now. That's on the association. That would be the easiest way, because everyone is able to view the Fiji Association Facebook page.
Yes, yeah, thank you, Finau. There is a Fijian Facebook page. We have at the moment, I think Johnny Sokia was the president. I'm not sure who's the president, or if, I don't think that has been a new elected president. But also, Melissa, to add to your question and to Finau, is that we have elders in the community that whenever there is a function, anything that requires Fijians to go, you will find that, like she was saying, Victor, they will come to the elders of the communities and ask for their opinion, or because there are protocols that needs to be taken in the case of anything that might involve cultural, any kind of cultural presentation. But yes, like Finau said, the Facebook page, that's the best way you can reach us. We have our secretary and our vice president that are there.
There is a question in the chat, and it says, oh, Bale for president, number one is the one comment. The other is, was there a king and queen of Fiji?
Finau, you can attack that one, and then I'll support you.
Thank you. So the Queen was actually the Queen of England. Fiji was part of the British colony up until 1970, when we gained our independence, and that's why Fiji has a lot of Indo-Fijians, because they were brought in during that colonial period where they had to come and work the farm in Fiji. But then they were given citizenship, so they are part of our the population in Fiji. So that's the question in regards to the King and Queen of Fiji. So right now in the government, the president is the highest position, and then we have the prime minister that is elected, and then his cabinets. And then we have a House representative, the opposition party, and the current elected government. So that's pretty much the setup. But then we have chiefs. Since we have 14 provinces, we have chiefs in each province, but then the 14 provinces are combined into several confederacies. So there are several confederacies. It will take us a whole day to talk about that.
We have a few more questions. In regards to cultural presentation and protocol, can both of you ladies talk about the importance in our Fijian culture on the tabua, whale's tooth?
Okay. The tambua, I'll speak on this a little bit, and Finau, you can add. From what I know of the tambua, tambua is the highest token of, what can I say, a highest token of respect that one can possess in their, family, and also a highest token of respect when going to a family to present. We use the tambua to ask for hands in marriage. We also use the tambua to I heard my dad say this many times. We use the tambua can cause an end war. That's how high of a regard it is. When you're presented with the tambua, that comes with a lot of respect, and we still use it today. Today, I believe we may be limited at the amount of tambua that can come out of Fiji, because it is a very sacred and a very high, respectful part of our culture. Like I said, I heard the teachings of my late dad said, a tambua can start and it can end a war. And so that's what I always regarded as a very high item of respect from my culture. What's her name? Finau can add to that.
Yes, so tambua, if you think of it as a currency, it's the highest currency for trading. Tambua is typically used to ask for someone's hand in marriage. The more the tambua, the higher the value of the individual. Likewise, in a funeral, tambua is used in a funeral. Now it goes tambua, and then you have kava or the yangona. Not the pounded one, but the one that is still in its root. So
the root.
Yeah, so that's just to give you guys a visual, the tambua is kind of the highest currency that we have, and we still use it. One tambua, depending on the size, can go typically from $800 to $1,500, or the bigger they are, the more expensive.
The more they cost.
Thank you. With a racial diversity with the Hindi Fijian community, is domestic violence more prevalent in one than another? Just curious.
According to my sources, they're about the same. It's the difference in, they're about the same, but more, I don't know. Finau, do you know? Maybe the Indian a little higher than the Fijian population. Is that something you know, Finau?
No, I actually don't have any statistics on that, but with COVID, what we see a lot more that's happening in Fiji is a lot of domestic violence. But again, that's also something that's happening here in the US when you're stuck in that, people are stuck at home and things like that. So without data,
I think, Melissa, let me just go back to that. 10 years ago, and I don't think changes. When I did my research, I know that what they said, it was the Indian population was more, the numbers were higher with them than our Fijians. And I think that has to do a lot with, and the brutality and the type of violence that occurred was the Indians, their type of violence, which was more brutal than the Fijian. And then again, you think about the cultural aspect of, in Fiji, we group and we have villages that we live in. As for the Indians in Fiji, they're kind of scattered. They live on our land. They don't have a place where they can call this is their village. So that had a lot to do when I was in Fiji doing my research. That came across like that to me, that there was more in the Indian population that there was in Fiji. I don't know about now, but at that time, yeah. But I think as I spoke to my colleague, it's increased in number. So she didn't, differentiate the different groups, just said the domestic violence had increased. So yeah, I'm not sure about that.
That's a great segue to our next question. Fijians are known as fierce warriors of the Pacific. Do you think that has something to do with the violence against women you spoke of?
I'm going to say, from what I know from history and what I've seen, that might be responsible for that, because our men like you say, they were fierce warriors, and they were looked at as the head of kinship in a family. And so I believe that, yeah, that could have something to do with why they're so abusive in nature, because of their warrior makeup.
Mhm.
Always fighting. And I could be wrong, but yeah, I don't know. It's be interesting to find out. What you think, Finau?
Oh, I would actually disagree with that statement. I think, I, but I do agree with her Mbale's statements in regards to the male figure. They have to be the head of the household and things like that. But I don't think their warrior has any correlations with violence, because that's, yeah, I don't know. I without data or research to back that up,
Yeah,
I'm not too comfortable making that
making that
correlation. So
assumption.
yeah, with a
Yeah,
warrior and
yeah.
them,
But
because
then,
it's a
but then you
choice.
think,
It's a
but
choice.
you think about this. All our dances, our chants were about war. Our men were very warlike people. They went out to war, claiming whatever they needed to claim land, claim a wife. That was their what that's what they did. And so like she said, that would be too much of an assumption. But if I was thinking, I would think, yeah, maybe psychologically it had a part in why our men are the way they are. But again, we're not going to make that assumption because we need proof.
Okay, thank you, ladies.
Mhm.
Question is, in regards to the LGBTQ I plus, that's our timer, Fijian individuals, is there a high rate of violence against them? So is there a high rate of violence against the LGBTQ plus community?
I'm just going to speak on this from what I saw and as growing up in Fiji. That was a community that like I don't know, like any other. I mean, for excuse me, that community stayed quiet. It was something we never talked about, right? And so over the years, they've come. My last trip to Fiji, I saw many. As a matter of fact, I sat on a panel with one of them, and I was there, and I don't I didn't see any type of violence towards that group. What I saw, though, sitting in that group, was a partnership with them. And when we went out to the streets afterwards, I could identify many of them. I don't think I saw any type of violence or any type of threat towards that community. Um, though we might say, oh, this and that, but not any type of, I haven't heard, maybe Finau has, any problem from accepting them. Um, and so,
And I can just add to Mbale. Growing up, I had friends that were gay, had and have cousins that are gay, and it just depends on the family's dynamic and how they accept it. Some families accept it, at a faster pace than other families. And so that just depends. I do know we're running out of time. There's a question down here. Are there any health problems that is more dominant in the Fijian community? For example, diabetes and cancer? Definitely diabetes. And also we see a lot of prostate cancer in Fiji. And again, that speaks to the healthcare system and maybe the lack thereof.
and also high blood pressure,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And so there's
hypertension.
quite a few for that one.
Okay, are there any other questions for our Fijian panelists that anybody might have? I think maybe just one more would be if individuals are, again, trying to outreach the Fijian community, what would you say they need to have ready? What should they have ready if they are coming to approach the Fijian community to do outreach for anything, whether it's health services, whether it's violence prevention, whether it's social services? What should they know for sure before they approach the Fijian community?
I think like Finau said, just get in touch with, there's nothing particular that you need to know, because if you're coming to us because you want to help us, we'll be very open to that. Just know the leaders in the community. Just know certain people that are prominent, like, I would say Victor, she was saying Victor, you get your information to him, he'll get the information out. I don't think there's any things that you need to know, or just come as you are and, present what you need to present, but present it, maybe I can make this point, present it to, like I say, a leader, so that words can get out to the community, or a prominent member of the community that can get the word out. But other than that, unless Finau knows something else, I don't think you need to come with anything, not in a culture setting. If you're just coming as healthcare to give help or want information, know that in Fiji we speak English, so that should not be a problem. We have many of our Fijians here in Utah, these are young couple that came through for education and have settled here, so they might have migrated their parents here, and they're there to translate if there's anything that needs to be translated. If it needs to, if it involves their parents, because now they're in their care, right? So other than that, I don't think anything else, unless Finau has anything to add.
I think just using the things that's already happening as an opportunity. For example, rugby games that they have here, or Pacific Island functions. If you use that as a platform that's already there, and you just come out and do that, in addition to what Bale had mentioned, you'd be able to target Fijians during those times.
Great. Any other questions or comments anybody wants to make? We have just about under 4 minutes. I don't want to take their time. Are there any other questions? You can also put it in the chat. There's a comment, Fijian men go to war to protect their women, so it is an understatement to think that that's the why, because every culture are infected by this evil.
Right.
Thank you for sharing. Okay. Oh, that's Simi. Right on, Simi. Okay.
Because he's Fijian. He is.
So if there's no more questions, Vinaka Vakalevu, to the two ladies for sharing this afternoon. Could you two please put your information in the chat in case anyone would like to get a hold of you and ask any questions, or maybe make the connection to some of the community leaders in the Fijian community to further their work. But otherwise,
thank you, Vinaka Vakalevu.